Welcome to the Leading Second podcast, a space to help church leaders thrive in the second chair. The Leading Second podcast releases every Thursday morning, so hit subscribe and share this episode with your team. Let's jump into another episode for all of us who lead from the middle.
Hello and welcome to Season 8 of the Leading Second podcast. It's our honor to have you in this space with us today. Thanks for joining us. If you lead from the middle in any capacity, Leading Second is for you. I'm glad you're here. For this season of the podcast, our episode guides are going to be made possible by Pulpit AI. So if you want to find the notes and questions and conversation starters, you can go to leadingsecond.com/podcast and download the episode guide. You can use it with your team or for yourself to make each conversation go a little bit further. We would love it if you would help us make some noise about the podcast by sharing it with your team or posting this episode on social media. And of course, leaving ratings and reviews. It all helps to share the message and move the ministry forward. Now let's jump into today's episode.
I'm joined with some of my brilliant Canadian friends, the ones willing to get on here in the middle of a noisy lobby and record today. How about that? Probably, first of all, one of my oldest leading second chair relationships here in Canada. Help me welcome Bryce Birmingham from Home Church. Say what's up to everybody.
Yeah.
Bryce.
Oh, it's so good to be here. So excited to have everybody in the room, building teams that are going to build the church.
That's right.
And hanging out with great Canadian leaders and from the United States as well.
We let a few of us in across the border.
Yeah.
I didn't have too much problem, last night. That can be a journey. What do you do at Home Church?
I'm presently the associate pastor. Serve on team with Pastor Jakin, location pastor.
Which we always wonder what associate pastor actually means, right?
Absolutely. So lots of team meeting, lots of team building, and then I'm also the location and pastor in Calgary on Saturday nights too. So I kind of wear a few hats around here.
So I just want everyone listening to catch that. So you're in Red Deer as the associate pastor, leading the team, helping lead the church. You're a campus pastor in Calgary. How far away is that?
It's about an hour and 15 from my house to the door of the location that we're at. So lots of fun on Saturday.
Just a little commute.
Yeah, totally. We just load up the family. We have lots of fun on the trip, and away we go.
I just need some people to hear that today so that understand context. And thank you to you and Glow for your commitment. We have a daughter that we named Glow, and your wife is like the only other Glow we know in the whole world. So I guess that's her namesake, or something. Tanisha, welcome.
Hey, thanks
I'm glad
for
you're here,
having me
Tanisha
today.
from Parallel Church.
Parallel Church, and I am a campus pastor at our Okotoks location, which is actually 2 hours from our broadcast location, which comes with a few challenges. And yeah, it's
now,
fun.
how many locations does Parallel Church have?
We have 5 locations across
Incredible.
Alberta and a little bit into Saskatchewan too.
Southern Alberta. Mm-hmm. I love it. God's doing a great work down there. And again, context, 2.5 hours, your location from the mothership.
Yes, it's a little bit, a little bit different. We do have one location that's about an hour away, and we're thankful for them, but it's a bit of a drive. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying this and emphasizing these things because I just think as leaders, sometimes leading in the kingdom of God takes some grit.
Yes.
It takes some...
Our locations are technically closer
That's funny.
than I am to one of our own church locations.
That's funny. Well, I'm glad you're here today, and you're on our events team for Leading Second. Help us a lot there, so we're excited to have you. And Isaac Varty, my friend from Edmonton. How you doing today, sir?
I'm
Welcome.
doing great.
Tell everybody what you do at Celebration.
Yeah, I'm in an executive pastor role at Celebration Church. Been in the same church my whole life, and been on staff for almost 14 years now. And yeah, I love what I've been able to get to do. And just recently, my brother took over as lead pastor of our church, so I get to serve Pastor Jess and Joel Varty, and serve their vision. It's awesome.
Which you have to give honor. Your parents have been brilliant pastors for decades in Edmonton. So faithful, so much character, and then y'all are in the middle of just an awesome transition.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, you can tell us, but that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. Again, same pastors from day one for 33 years, and it's a big moment for our church to go through and to do how to pass that baton, but pass it well and the right timing and the right steps. So it's been a great, really 3-year process, I would say, of that transition. And they officially took over in October of 2024, and it's been awesome. Yeah.
Well, to get us started today, we're just going to talk a little bit about Canada because I know I speak on behalf of Pastors Kevin and Sheila and the Team Church tribe, but our heart beats for Canada. And we love this nation. We love what God is doing. I feel like God is doing a really special work in this season. I also feel like I've learned a lot from you all over the years. The U.S. is quite diverse. We have different pockets that experience different things politically and such. But coming from the Northwest, I always feel a little bit like y'all. I feel like we got a lot in common. And I've learned a lot. I've been inspired by you. I would just love to start today by hearing a little bit, what is God doing right now in your churches? What's God doing in this nation right now? I believe it's a great day for the church. And I believe that Jesus is building his church. But how is that feeling for you all right now? What are you feeling about what God is doing in Canada? Tanisha, we're all looking at you.
Ladies first.
All right. Well, I think one thing that really stands out to me is there's a level of apathy within our communities, and just that feeling of is church, is a relationship with God relevant in my life? And something we've been really challenging our church to do is saying, we need to go and reach people with the gospel of Jesus, and you need to do that. Like, you are a part of the church just as much as I am a part of the church, and just really championing people to say, how can you go be the light in your community? How are you making relationships with your neighbors? How are you inviting them into the church? And just have some skin in the game. Don't just hope they come because they saw an advertisement. Go be the church, go be the light, go be active, make relationships with your neighbors so you actually have influence with them to come into the church as well.
I think that's something I think about often, and not just in Canada, everywhere, is what do you do when church isn't always just up and to the right? Like, what do you do in seasons where it does feel like people are apathetic? What do you do when it feels like buy-in's a little bit harder to get than it used to be? Just this really challenging thought. Can you still be faithful in that environment? What is faithfulness felt like to you when you see it, when you feel like you've experienced apathy from people? What is it meant to you to still wake up and faithfully represent Christ and represent your church and your community? What's that been like for you?
I think for us, like as a pastor, you got to keep the vision hot. You've got to keep it right in front of people. But I think being able to give personal examples of this is how I'm doing it has been really big. This is kind of random, but my husband and I really like scuba diving. We're actually became professional scuba divers.
You live in like the last place on earth to like scuba diving, mind you.
Sorry?
Well, you're nowhere near water.
Well, we have water. We just dive under the ice. So I don't know what that says about me. Sometimes you need moments of peace and quiet, and that's where we find it. But in our journey of becoming scuba divers, we've had a lot of conversations with people, and they find out we're pastors, and we've started to be able to share the relevance of God in their life. We've had some incredible conversations and opportunities to speak into people's life about their marriage or what death looks like or different things like that. And when we do that, we've been able to bring personal examples back home to communicate to our team, hey, this is what it looks like to take this into your workplace. This is what it tangibly can look like to go have a conversation with somebody. And I think it's important that we don't get too disconnected from the people in our church, that we are close in our relationships with them and can bring it home, make it real.
Are you ready to level up your leadership? Leading Second coaching groups are a 12-month journey designed just for second chair leaders who are ready to grow deeper, lead stronger, and stay planted in the calling God's placed on their life. Through monthly coaching calls, in-person experiences like the Leading Second Summit and our Leadership Practicum, and deep connection with other leaders across the country, you won't just grow, you'll build lasting momentum in your calling. You'll get equipped, challenged, and encouraged, and you'll walk away with the tools and the friendships that will impact your leadership for years to come. Spots are limited, so head to leadingsecond.com/coaching-groups. Applications open May 8th, so apply before they're gone.
I think I'm theologically sound on this. We are not responsible for whether people accept or reject Christ. That is a decision every person on this planet will ultimately make. We are responsible for presenting the opportunity to them. And so I think sometimes we feed off of that energy, like when things are growing, when things are hot, but you're talking about apathy. It still requires the faithfulness of God. And someone listening today, you may not be in Canada, but you might be in any situation where your department or your campus or your ministry just feels a little stalled right now. That's real. Like, we have to learn that how to stay at our posts.
Yeah,
Is that making sense?
I think it's remembering we need to be faithful with what God's entrusted to us, not what we want Him to entrust to us. We need to be faithful with what's present in front of us right now.
Yeah, very good. Bryce, what do you feel like God's doing in Canada right now?
I feel like we've really come through such a hard season over the last few years, where everything, you could say one thing and it would polarize the conversation.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Right? And so the trust of the church and leadership and pastors, and I'm loving what we're seeing now. Something that Pastor Jakin has been saying to us is we have a big vision, but that vision is going to take inseparable unity driven by great faith. And so for us to rally around the vision, to rally around the things that we're implementing right now, like leadership essentials, have been so vital and so important to bring alignment so that there isn't this hyper left or right thought that we're continually being hit with, but we're all in the vision, moving vision forward. And we're seeing like God do incredible things in this season right now.
It's interesting you bring up being polarized, because that's been so interesting, right? You're not conservative enough for some people, you're not progressive enough for a lot of people, probably. It's like you can't please everybody, and yet you have to stand for what you believe God's asked you to stand for, as a Christian and as a church leader. I don't know if you'd have any more to say about that, but to me that's a really big deal, is learning how to stay faithful to your convictions, even when it feels like Facebook's going all over the place, and maybe even, I don't know about you, I mean, I've lost friends over the last few years. It's hard. It's hard when I don't think one of us at this table is annoying or brash or abrasive, but at the same time, you have to stand principled. We have to instruct our kids in those ways, and it can mean certain relational fallout. I guess I don't know if you have any more to say about that, but I feel like it's a really big deal that more and more of us are finding our way into.
I think it's a massive deal, and that we're actually providing something for people to. So at Home Church, we've recently just been doing freedom sessions. That's been great for people to find freedom, but then on the next side of that, to then bring them into leadership essentials to help with thought process, work people through, get them in the vision, get them in the culture. Because even for us here, we've just in the last about a year and a half, just moved across the parking lot from Legacy Center, seating about 800 people, to now Legacy Place, seating 650 people. And there's always opinions about things, how a building goes up and what's happening and all these different things. And the challenge to continually just stay on track and in the vision by creating inseparable unity on our teams, from fam groups to ministries to every area.
I want to pause and just emphasize that for a minute. You all built what has got to be one of the most significant church buildings in your nation. I mean, this is substantial what you all have built here, the building that we're in today. It's an absolute miracle. But then the sheer jump, I was, looking at it driving in this morning. I was like, how in the world do you go from that building to this building?
And
That's
just
wild.
just across a parking lot.
Right.
But to overcome some things in a building. I don't know who I might be talking to today, but you can marry a place, not a people.
That's right.
So, a place could be where you got baptized or where you got married or the baby dedication, and these things that are so vital and important, and yet God is doing something new in a shift across to the parking lot. And so even to watch the tensions from an old building, or as people are moving from facility to facility, even in church planting situations, boy, to date the place sometimes, but to marry up with God's people in the church. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and don't you guys think we all have a personal responsibility as second chair leaders to grow as the church grows? Like, as the church, sometimes it's going to be in leaps and bounds, like what you guys just did, and sometimes it's just going to be little by little, every day. But you'll look back and you'll realize that your church grew. The question is, did you grow as a leader? Because leading for you now, Bryce, leading in this moment's probably requiring different things than it did 5, 7, 8 years ago, 10 years ago when we met.
Absolutely.
And so you've had to have some sort of a commitment along the way to get bigger as the church got bigger.
Absolutely. And a lot of that was leading our location in Calgary. Like, it cut my teeth in another area. Like, I'm now 30 years a part of this team at Home Church.
Gosh.
With Pastor Jakin, and to go out and do a campus and still do a campus is so amazing, just to build something, because I knew what to do, and I was learning with you what to do about 350 to 400 people, but then to go back to locations that had 40 people in it, and another location with 150 people, to learn that groundwork, and then now here in Red Deer to be working with the team at the systems and ministry in place for about 1,000, 1,100, and working towards up. It's so much fun with sometimes these different number barriers that we have.
I just want to thank you for being faithful over dozens, hundreds, and thousands, that you as a leader have shown tremendous breadth of leadership there, and that's no small thing. We honor you. Isaac, you're up. What, from your seat right now, what's God doing in Canada?
What's God doing in Canada? I would say two things. The one thing would be, there's just this beautiful openness with Gen Z to just all things Christianity right now. And that's one thing that's been pretty refreshing, at least, being a millennial, watching a lot of my generation being a little bit more closed off to church and just, religion in general. But then I think there's just a beautiful openness right now with Gen Z being so open to the gospel, so open to church, and just serving and loving God. That's been really special, I think, in Canada. And then secondly, I would say Canada is a very high immigration country. So a lot of immigration. So there's a lot of people that are new to Canada that are really familiar with religion, right? So whether they're coming in from a Sikh background, Muslim background, even a Catholic background, so that they kind of know it from like a cultural, family, traditional context. But what we're seeing in our churches is that, the people in our churches inviting them out and them hearing, the gospel and the message of Jesus for the very first time, and just this like huge awakening in their lives, realizing like, oh my gosh, there's a God who loves me, who wants a relationship with me. And that, when we say religion, this is not just a thing I do with my family. It's not a tradition, but a relationship with Jesus actually is going to impact every area of my life. And you forget how unique that is, that people don't realize that their relationship with God is meant to improve everything they do in their life. And it's going to change their family. It's going to change their kids. It's going to have this generational impact for, a family that loves and serves God. So I think that's really cool, is just seeing that unique to Canada, again, and all these people from other countries.
Totally.
But, yeah.
Going back to Gen Z, what are you finding is working best? Where are they? I know you guys are really doing quite well in reaching younger people, younger generation. Where are they leaning in? What are their needs?
Again, I would say in our context, relationship always comes first before maybe coming to a service or something like that. So for us, groups and just people's relationships, it seems like they're maybe, if a Gen Z is new to our church, it's because they've been hanging out with like a group of friends first, and then they're maybe hearing about Jesus in that circle before they ever actually make a decision to come into the building and sit down in a service and experience that. So I would say, again, it's just our people really just doing God's work and sharing the gospel whether it's in their classrooms or in their work or in their homes. Is just being able to do that outside of the 4 church walls is probably the most important thing. Yeah.
Let's spend a couple minutes before we're done and just talk about some of your stories. Each of you have a very unique story. And Isaac, I'm just going to sit with you for a minute. What's it been like for you? You're in the second chair. You're the executive pastor of your church. That's a decently new role, or at least new clarity around the role. But you're doing it with your brother now leading. I would just love to hear new role, but your brother's your boss. How has that been for you as a second chair leader?
Again, I think what's important is, first off, me and my brother, we're like friends first always, right? So we're not, again, our relationship has always been like we both were each other's best man. So we have a really good, relationship outside of the boss employee role. But I think really this came down probably a thing for me that I had to make sure that I was clearly understanding what I was walking into when he was taking over that first chair role. And about probably a year and a half before the transition, I was actually sitting down it was John Burns. Most people would know him. And he looked at me and he goes, "Are you ready to submit to him?" And he kind of like looked at me and I was just like, I never really thought of it like that. And I was just like, well, you know what I mean? Because at first thought, I'm like, of course, yeah, like whatever, right? But he's like, no, this is a big deal. Like, you need to really think about it. And I had to do a lot of kind of internal heart checks to really understand that, okay, like I have to be able to clearly look at him without the eyes of my brother, the guy that I know inside and out, and I have to say, like, no, this is a guy that I'm not just following, but I'm serving, and I'm serving his vision. And I think that was a really important kind of heart check for me walking into it, that I already had really had to acknowledge that and make sure I checked that myself.
Totally. And you actually used one of my buzzwords. So typically, from my coaching seat, I feel like I encounter problems when a second chair leader views their pastor as their friend before their pastor.
Yeah.
And I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But what's funny for you is you're probably well served by being friends with your pastor. That brother friendship. It's just an interesting dynamic there.
That's the thing, because it's like I have to be able to address him just as pastor and not as friend or brother. But the reality is that he's always still my brother. So like
and he always will be.
He always will be. But I mean, like when it comes to conversation, like me and him will always have a way of talking to each other that not other executive pastors would talk with their senior pastor, just because it is a unique and it is a beautiful thing. So it's actually, some people look at us as like this like kind of disadvantage. It's kind of like, but I'm like, man, it's actually our biggest advantage is that we have that relationship when we are brothers, and there's so many things we'll say to each other that we might not say if we weren't family. And I think that's really important. But.
At the same time, though, your team does not need you to be your brother's friend.
100%.
So my last question for you is just, how are you balancing those hats?
Exactly. Like what you said, when it comes to we're always brothers, but that's behind closed doors. That's in the one-on-one conversations. But in front of the team, that's Pastor Joel. It's not Joel. It's Pastor Joel. And that I'm relating him. And then again, I served my parents before that too. So what I had to be careful of is that oh, they're having a family conversation right now. This is not a team conversation. That's he's talking to his brother. So it can never feel like that, our conversation, when we're in the team dynamic, and how I address them. I can't pull that card out, if you will, and say, well, here's my, brother relationship, how I'm going to say it. You know what I mean? That can't happen in front of the team.
Keep the card in the wallet.
Yes. Yeah.
Keep the card in the wallet.
Yeah.
Tanisha, you lead a location with your husband. That's how far away? 2.5?
About 2 hours.
2 hours away. So, first of all, we all know you do a lot of driving. We can assume that, but there's going to be some natural distance. Here's my question: how do you not allow natural distance to create leadership distance or alignment distance between you and your pastor?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a slippery slope and something that you have to be aware of. It's easy to fall into well, we're over here, we're forgotten, our budget's less than yours, whatever it is. And I think you really have to fight for alignment, fight to have a heart posture in the right place. I'm really thankful I have a great relationship with our lead pastors, and I know that if I need to reach out to them or if something just feels like a little bit off, I can. But I think the biggest thing is recognizing that ownership's on you. It's on you to make sure that your heart's in the right place. It's on you to ask the questions if something's off. And it's on you to fight to have relationship. We've gotten some really good relationships with the other campus pastors that we've had, but we have to work for that. We have to be willing to say, hey, let's take a few hours to drive and meet for coffee, or let's get on the phone even after hours while we're walking in the grocery store, just to be able to have those extra connection points.
Yeah, very good. We're going to do last question here. Each of you get 30 seconds on the clock, and we're landing the plane. What's just one word of encouragement you would give to a leader, a second chair leader in your nation right now, someone who's at their post, serving faithfully every week? Just how would you encourage that leader, a Canadian second chair leader right now? I'd love to hear from each of you really fast before we sign off.
So I would definitely encourage anybody to just stay confident in who you are. So my pastor would say, walk in the authority that I've given to you. And it takes a confidence. And so in this role, I realize I can double the church or I can divide the church.
Wow.
And so I want to double the church. I want to see the church flourish, and I want to lead the team towards the large vision that God has for us, and not fall down into insecurity or the moments of, I'm not sure because I'm feeling some distance right now. I have to have a confidence that God has called me, I'm on team, and I'm walking in the authority that my pastor and God has given me.
Very good. Very good. Tanisha?
I think for me, it would just be that reminder of we're called to plant seeds. We're called to be workers in the fields. We're not called to be the ones to completely grow the harvest. So just be encouraged that the pieces that you're doing, the parts that you're looking to bring forward, God's going to do good things with those. And so just continue to be faithful with that. Be confident in what you're doing and that God's called you.
Isaac, you get the last word.
I would say it comes down just care for people well. I think that's something we learned a lot out of COVID, is how we truly pastor people one-on-one and how we care for them outside of what they're doing, from a ministry and team role inside of things. And again, it comes down to just how we're connecting with people and understanding where their heart is and what their needs are and where their family's at. And I think that's been one of the biggest kind of advantages that I've realized and tapped into as a leader, is understanding my ability to care for someone and make them feel pastored and loved and cared for is something super important not to forget.
Well, thank you to each of you for your wisdom, for your stories, and for your faithfulness today. I value each of you as friends and members of our tribe, so love you all. And leading second, especially those in Canada who maybe tuned into this episode, we love you. Thank you for your faithfulness at your post every single week. You are making a bigger difference than you probably realize sometimes. You're building the church, you're extending the vision of your pastor, and we're grateful for each and every one of you. We're signing off on the podcast today, but leading second, we love you. Until next time, let's run strong for the kingdom and lead in an uncommon way together. God bless you.
It is our honor to serve churches and leaders across the globe. We equip ministry leaders with the coaching, events, and resources needed to embrace their calling, get it right with their pastor, and lead in an uncommon way. Visit our website, leadingsecond.com, to learn how we can come alongside you as you lead from the middle. From the second chair, for the second chair.